we're streaming. We are recording, so we're good to go. Okay, we're going to start our welcome to the City of Kingston Tree Commission meeting. Today is Thursday, July 21st, 2022. It's 5 o'clock. We're at City Hall in person. I'm just going to welcome and have members introduce themselves first. We do have some guests, and you are unmuted, and that is also unmuted, so I don't know what. Okay, there we go. Sorry. Okay. All right, so I'm Sue Cahill. I'm the planning director for the City of Kingston, and our office administers a tree commission.
Kyla Dide, the assistant planner at the City of Kingston.
I'm Kathy Shea, Tree Commissioner. Amanda O'Neill, Tree Commission.
Ellen Ken, Tree Commissioner.
Anita Collins, I'm the liaison with the Conservation Advisory Council.
Thank you. Okay, I didn't make copies of extra agendas, so I'm just going to kind of scoot around. We do have a late addition to the agenda. Since you are here, you want to come up to the table? Kylie, you have this, you can share it. This is Mr. Alvin. His property is located at 179 Trumper Avenue. The commission had reviewed this quite a while ago, back in 2017, and we reviewed this as a pruning job. Mr. Ellman came to.
That's not correct. Nobody wanted to prune it.
Well,
They
right,
refused.
we approved it as a pruning job originally. And you can't find anybody to prune it, so you're now at, that was what we originally approved. Back in 2017, we agreed to allow it to get pruned.
No, not at all. That was the problem. And I had wanted it pruned, and I was told only that they would take it down and that's it.
Well,
That's what happened.
nevertheless, you're here now, asking to take it down completely, all right? So an application was filed earlier today, for a complete removal of the tree. And these are some additional photographs that the applicant submitted to me today.
I'd like to interrupt you again.
Okay?
At the time, I was told that they don't do pruning and that they would only take it down. The tree has been healthy for the past 5 years, enough that it wasn't as dangerous as the letter that was sent to me saying it was a dangerous tree, had to come down immediately, and nobody wanted to prune it. They would only take it down. Now, I kept it for 5 years instead of accepting a $400 removal, which is a great price to take it down, and I knew that at the time. But I live right near Broadway. It's really dirty over there. The street was never finished when they paved it. They never finished paving it, so it all catches all the dirt. It's really dirty. It comes into the apartment, and we need all the trees that we can keep in Kingston. So I tried to keep it for all that time. That's what had happened and is happening. And now I'm cutting it down because the city feels it's a dangerous tree and has to come down 5 years ago. Now I have a broken branch, which you can see on the left side up in the middle there. It's broken. It's been broken for a little while. We just had ice storms, wind storms, tornadoes. We just had, and the tree is fine. Tree's not budging. I don't know what the health is. I'm not an expert, but in the past 5 years, I've had no problem until now when that branch broke. And I don't want someone to get hurt, and nobody wants to prune it. And I can't get somebody to come and just do any work on it without making an appointment and giving them a deposit of 20% or 25%, and they'll come in February. I made a lot of phone calls, talked to a lot of people. People came, I got estimates, and nobody could come right away, and nobody could come. I'm just afraid someone's going to get hurt. Now, I can't determine if the tree is healthy or not. It's a hell of a lot healthier than some of the other trees that I've seen in the neighborhood that had, every time there's a storm, loses lots of branches. And so I felt I was doing a service by keeping it as long as I did, because we need our trees. And so the only reason I'm here is because an application has to be approved for this guy, who I assume it will be approved because he's just finished cutting a bunch of trees on my block. And but at the same time, he called me on a cancellation. That's the only reason I'm able to get him. And, I'm giving an opportunity to the city before we give him an application and an approval, even though I told him I was gonna do it, and I feel guilty if he doesn't, but I mean, it's $2,500 out of my pocket. And, I'm willing to pay the city more than 400, but, if I'm gonna save a considerable amount, otherwise I'm gonna let them come and
Okay.
just do the same.
Well, okay, so the city directed you to remove it, you appealed that decision. We agreed at the tree commission level that to approve your appeal to prune it only. That's beyond, that's
No,
in
there
the
was never
past,
any
that's in the
talk about
past.
pruning only, never.
Well,
Yeah.
I have the letters, but
But I never got the
look, I'm not
letter.
gonna argue.
Nobody discussed it with
All
me.
right. Well, the letter was sent to you.
No, never, ever. I had a letter saying it had to be taken down immediately.
Okay.
That's the only letter I ever received.
Okay, but that was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, okay? So now we're in the present, and you came into the office today, and you said you wanted to take it down. So that's why we're here today. You're here to ask the commission to approve
Because I know
your
you don't,
request to.
because I know you don't do pruning. That's the reason why.
Okay, so, does the commission have any questions for this gentleman?
Yes.
Yes.
So if, I mean, maybe it's worth to, I mean, from the photo, it's really hard to know, like, I mean, if no professional came to kind of decide that it needs really to be cut, it seems like not very clear, like if the tree is really not doing well. I don't know if you have been able to see it, but we have like just some time to get somebody else to do an assessment. And
Well, I think he was saying he tried to get multiple parties or companies to come and do the pruning, correct?
Yes,
And they would not do the pruning.
including the
When they
city.
came and looked at your tree, they told you that the condition of the tree, it wasn't worth doing the prune, that it should be taken down.
No, I was told the tree is healthy enough and that, so there were some dead
Okay.
branches that need to come down, the tree is healthy. Other than that it would be able to stand for another, as 5 years have gone by.
Okay.
And
But they didn't
now,
want-
and now I feel like if it was so dangerous 4 or 5 years ago, then it probably has to come down now, especially since the city told me they do not do pruning. Now I'm home a lot.
No, the city wouldn't do pruning and the city wouldn't take it down.
So I just have a question, right? Because if you personally, you don't want to take it down and this, I mean, like just regardless, city will never call you, but at the same time, it's like if today there's a choice, let's say we are going to approve pruning, and will you be willing to accept, say, okay, the pruning the tree?
No, not at all, because at this point, if that tree, they felt it was dangerous 5 years ago, I feel now that it's dangerous.
It doesn't look dangerous at all. It looks like a healthy tree that needs a break.
Well,
No.
5 years since they said it had to come down immediately because it was dangerous.
Is there any paperwork?
So, I mean, that's why I never even paid attention, because I knew that that tree was fine. I love that tree. I hate to see it go, but I cannot determine on my own if it's dangerous or not, and I'm losing
Suzanne,
sleep for 5 years over that
Is there
letter.
any copy of this letter that would have gotten sent to him saying?
I think
Yeah, from the Public Works.
I think the length might be dangerous if like the length was just like, you know, if at any time it might fall on, pedestrian, then yes, it will. cause-
There is one limb for sure, and then there's a few others that if you pruned it, my guess is the tree probably get another few more years out of it, if the city wants to try to save it. Me, I'm losing sleep over the whole thing for 5 years already, so I just assume have it taken down. I'm just proposing that, if the city steps in, like they had offered me to do for $400 back in the day, I'm willing to give them more than $400 to give this money to the city rather than spend a lot more and give it to the contractor.
The program unfortunately is no longer in place.
Well, I didn't know about a program. I only knew that I was told that the tree was dangerous. No one told me about any kind of program. So just that the tree was dangerous and had to come down. And if I felt it was dangerous, I would have certainly given $400 to the city to do it.
Are there any parts of it that are hollowing out, or is
That's the part that was hollowing out. That's
just the broken
that's
branch,
broken
but
down,
not the
yes.
trunk itself?
No, it looks pretty good, and when I get guys over there to look at it, they don't understand, but they tell me that they're not gonna, they just don't have the time, or they wanna be bothered with pruning it, or they're gonna charge me half the amount of money to prune it than take it down, which is just a lot of money to take a few dead branches.
So it seems like the Department of Public Work has issued a letter to suggest.
Right, that was the first letter that went out, and then he appealed that decision.
I'm not sure how I appealed it.
He appealed, right, you appealed it, and it said.
I don't understand what that means.
I have another letter that after further review and discussion, the Kingston Tree Commission agrees that it's appropriate to prune the street tree located at 179 Tremper. Your appeal is hereby approved, and you may move to undertake the work. Also be advised that because the tree is located within the right of way, you must provide Department of Public Works with the appropriate insurance and have the contractor secure the pedestrian and driving lanes, blah, blah, blah. So then it goes on to say, lastly, if in the future removal is deemed necessary, it will be the responsibility of the property owner to address the removal for public safety purposes. So we appreciated your effort to maintain the landscape of the street by taking the necessary work to protect and promote the health of the tree. And that was in 2017. That letter.
Yes, I know. Well, I know when the letter I got, it was in 2017. I don't know what,
Right,
that letter I never
that
received.
came after, that was.
I
the
never
letter you
received,
got
I never
was in
received the second
April,
letter.
and then July.
I won't say it again, but I never received
Okay,
the second letter.
I'm just.
And I'm not saying the city never sent it out,
Yeah.
but we were, for a while there, we
Okay,
were getting a different mailman every day. I got letters from lots of people in the neighborhood that didn't belong to me.
well, in any case, your application is today to do a removal, so, what is the commission's pleasure?
Confusion about this. I just wonder, like, I mean, can we have a little time? I would like to see the
I'm
trees.
having a very hard time understanding what she's saying.
I said, like, if we can have like a week, I would like to see the trees and just kind of like do an assessment.
I would like to say that when I moved here and I bought that house 17 years ago, I was told, listen, I rented for years. I bought a house so I wouldn't have to deal with anybody telling me what to do. I've lived there by myself without tenants for 17 years when it's a two-family house, and I've turned it into a one-family house so that I don't have to deal with anybody. Okay? Now, that tree, I was told wasn't my responsibility, but knowing that it is my responsibility, I just want it out. I don't want to prune it now. I don't care what anyone else says. If it's my responsibility, then I should have a say in it. And now, my feelings are that if I'm responsible for the tree, I've kept it for 5 years after being told that it was a dangerous tree, and now that I'm saying that it is a dangerous tree, as far as I'm concerned, I'm losing sleep over it. I want it down. However, if I have to pay this guy $2,500, I will. If not, if the city can do something for me and help me keep that cost down because I've done a good deed, I mean, I'm a good resident. I'm out there hours every week sweeping the streets because they don't get swept and because we have giant puddles there since the gas lines went in, which is one of the reasons why the street itself is sinking. 2 weeks started 2 weeks after the gas line went, when they had a big flood. And they turned the water back on before they were supposed to, and it was a big mess. And the street's been sinking ever since. And that's long before, that was before 2017. That was when they did it, it's probably 2 years, 3 years before that, I guess.
So want to say one thing, right? I think to tree commission, right? If you decide to take down the tree, we normally would like you to plant another tree because it's not really, you need to.
Well, we do have a tree planting program.
I know about the tree planting program, and I will decide whether or not I will put another plant tree, and that's not what we're here for today.
No, I understand that.
Yes, I appreciate it, thank you. I'm aware.
But at the same time, it's like, once, regardless if you really like it or not, I think that's the tree, or even the sidewalk itself is all, the property owner's responsibility. So that's why, like, we don't, besides the tree, right, because it's like painting, like, we always need to take care of that to protect like public safety, right? So whatever happened is happened, right? And so we just want to, you are coming here for a solution, and we will try our best to assist you on this particular, case, right? But I think for our stand is like, if the tree is healthy, we wouldn't really want to take it down. That's, normally what we, because like, if everybody don't want to take care of a tree, and so everybody wants to take.
Whatever. I mean, I was told it was unhealthy and it had to come down. I never got a second letter about pruning. I was told that nobody would prune the tree from the city or anywhere else. unless I spent a lot of money, but the city, they would not prune, they do not prune, they insisted they do not prune. And what I said at the time, I don't know what an appeal is, but what I said at the time was to them, why are you saying my tree is unhealthy? Because to me, it looks very healthy and I don't understand, can you help me? You told me that some guy named Mark was gonna come by later on that evening at 5:30, and I stayed and I waited and waited, nobody ever came. And he was the expert from Forsyth Park or something, and he was gonna come and he was gonna see me. And nobody ever came, nobody ever called, nobody talked to me again, and nobody sent me another letter of any kind.
So that was 4 years ago, and now we are here because people are different, departments might be different, the policy might be improved. So I think that's why we are here, and the people, I was here since last year. So we might make a different decision based on the different, the different time, right? And so we, as I said, we are trying to help you to solve the issues here. And so
So if you feel the tree can be pruned, will the city come in and prune it?
I mean, you cannot really rely on city to send people just to prune the tree.
If I prune it now and I spend $1,500 to prune it, and then probably in 2 or 3 years from now, it's gonna have to get cut down. It's an old tree, it's not as bushy as the other maples around. It definitely is not gonna live much longer. I'll be paying $1,500 now, and then another $2,500 again later. Or maybe even more as the years go by, because he's the one who gave me the best price. I had prices from $2,800 to $3,400. In fact, I had a guy pay me $5.
Usually they will also issue to their examiner, right? Like you say, okay, well, the tree actually is safe, is, then the root or, the inside, has really, wobbling, there's a different issue.
That tree hasn't budged. We just had a prune, it doesn't move. And that's, it hasn't moved. It's been safe all that time. That's why I haven't had anyone come in and cut it. But a lot of time's gone by, and like I said, you said it was dangerous 5 years ago. I mean, who's responsible for it if you say it's safe now and something falls, I'm on the corner. If something falls now and you say it's safe, who's responsible, me or you?
You,
Then how is it that I have no choice?
you would be.
Then how is it I have no choice over the commission saying that it's okay?
You don't have a choice, but you have to follow the city's code and other things, right?
Well-
We are just talking about that.
Well, that's why I'm
No,
here.
I think in all fairness, the city did notify him, the DPW did make that determination that it was unsafe initially, all right? He chose to appeal that. We agreed to allow that appeal to go through and allow him to make the effort to save the tree. It's been safe for 5 years. He's coming back now at this point in time to remove the tree. I think we should entertain that request.
Okay.
All right? But I would need a motion from a voting member. I am not a voting member.
Is there any chance of the city offering me a better price than this guy at this
The
point for
city
having
does
safe?
not have a tree removal program at this time.
Okay,
All
fine.
right, so I'm just being honest.
Fine, I'm just saying, I'm trying to ask
We
because I'm
have
here.
a planting program right now that's going on, and that's what we could offer to help you with. Once this tree is removed, we can help you put another tree in, in close proximity,
Right.
if you want one. We'd be willing to do that.
I'm not gonna make that decision right now.
No, you don't have to. I'm just saying that's what we have right now.
I understand.
So I would need a motion from a member.
Does the application also attach any report about the condition of the tree?
No.
No, he just came in this morning with this, to bring this back to the commission, because we were meeting tonight, we put it on as late.
Then my
I haven't
question,
had an opportunity to have DPW go back out there and reevaluate, if that's what you're asking.
And she's doing it as a courtesy to me because I got this guy who had cancellations. He's able to cut it down.
so, if this is based on, our decision is really based on the DPW's assessment 4 years ago, if it's unsafe, then I would.
I would doubt that position would change.
Okay.
If I sent the DPW out there again, I don't think that they would change their position.
Okay, so then I will make a motion, just to, remove the tree based on the, follow the city procedure, including insurance and.
Okay. With the standard conditions with the insurance, okay. Okay. Is there a second on that motion? Corinne, okay. Is there any further discussion?
I would like it to be listed that we strongly support him planting another tree in place of it.
That would be a standard, and I will include the link. He knows that he's been in the office, so he knows that that program exists.
Tabby's not here, so maybe there'll be, some, like.
The Memorial Tree Fund, I will send that information. There is a program, but I don't know if there's any funds left for this calendar year.
Okay,
There's only a couple of opportunities, and I think they may have already been allocated. And that's a Memorial Tree Fund does offer some assistance after a tree's been removed to give you some funds to offset your costs. But I don't believe
To offset the cost for what?
for the removals. And once you've had approval from the tree commission to remove, you've done the work, you submit the bills to them. They will sometimes give you a small stipend, okay? Now, they will cover the whole cost, but I believe the funds that have allocated for 2022 have already been given out or dedicated. But I will give you that information in the letter that we send out, okay? And you can reach out to them. Tebby, who's normally here, is not here yet. Okay? Okay, so there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion is carried, okay? Sign next to your name, please, and vote. Okay, thank you.
So what do I need to do now to make sure that I have
I will-
permission and all that for him to come up?
I will be getting you a letter. I will try and get it out first thing tomorrow. So
I
if
can
you want
come-
to stop in,
I can-
give a call to the office, and then you can stop and pick it
What
up.
time are you in the office?
I'm in early, but the office doesn't open until 9.
9, okay, I'll give you a call at 9.
Okay.
All right, thanks very much. Have a nice evening, everybody.
Huh? But no, we have Alan Bear there, so let's do him. Next. Alan, you want to come over to the table?
Sure.
Okay.
I didn't come to present, just to learn.
Yeah, I know. Alan is for Henry Street.
Now that I'm here.
Is that a problem? No, prune trees?
I see people pruning all the
Oh,
time.
yeah,
It's
it's
very,
probably an issue. It's had been an issue before.
we've had a lot of pruning just on my side of Franklin in the last few months.
Yes.
And
And we have a couple of applicants in our list today that are pruning.
yeah.
Evan needs to sign this when he comes back. I don't know what we've been off to.
He said he had to excuse himself for a couple minutes at some point just after 5.
Okay. Okay, so Alan is here representing the Transart property, which is at 105, 107 Henry Street. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's an organization that's rehabilitating the property there. Henry Street is also one of the projects that's going on, doing a complete street reconstruction with new sidewalks, bike lanes, et cetera, et cetera. This is a corner lot, and this is the tree around the corner, so it's not covered by that project. They've been through the planning board, they do have valid approvals to do a lot of work, and in the course of doing the work along the sidewalk, this tree was identified as being problematic for not only the sidewalk, but also I believe it's where the access to your driveway is located, and it interferes with that as well, right?
Yeah, it's actually closer to the pedestrian ramp than the vehicular. It's not exactly midway in between. It's,
Right.
yeah, we were fearful all along but I'm not a tree cutter. It breaks my heart that this came up. So, that's our position.
Well, again, DPW did go out and
Exactly.
met with you in the field. Ryan Kuhn went out and took a look at it. And he actually was in our office the other day and said that this tree, while it may look semi-healthy, is not in the best condition. And it does have an infestation issue. So because of those two things and what it's doing to not only the street and the sidewalk, he's recommending that it be removed. But again, we do have the replacement program in effect. That will be, information will be in any letter that comes out of our office.
Sounds good. I mean, we already planted 2 new trees along Furnace Street.
Right.
So if this goes, which it sounds like it will, we'll plant.
You might be offered some for the Henry Street project on the front.
Actually, that's already covered. The city has graciously agreed to do the 2 trees in front, not the 2 that we have planned for Furnace. But we will add a 3rd to our master plan. I think it would look better to replace this tree.
Okay. Are there any questions for Alan? Alan's the architect of the project, so you've been with us for several years, right? Yeah, I know.
They're beautiful. It's coming
Yeah.
along well.
Trees, some just two things and all.
Okay, we need Evan for a vote. So, hang on a
It
second.
looks like the bluestone is pushing over in those 2 pieces for the roots too.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Since you're in it.
Yeah, it's huge for that.
The alternating
Look how
colors
narrow
on
that
the roof
is.
panels.
I'm surprised it's still alive.
Was original?
That was original, yes. We supported that, and the only historical photo from close to the time the building was completed. Now, that's obviously.
I've never seen that.
I'll show, I'll send it to
Here
you.
she is, if she's coming.
Yeah,
Have you ever seen that before?
I started.
In my career, I've never seen.
I've never seen,
Yeah.
it was the shoppers.
I think she said she would be here.
But it's very
She said
distinct.
today it was day for her.
Yeah.
Oh, he's stuck in the gardens.
Could be either that or a building site.
Yeah.
And do we suspect hallucinogenics or was there?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
My goodness.
there's actually evidence of
That's really.
putting things up fence-wise and then changing his mind.
Yeah,
You know.
There might-
there's no overheads,
He
right?
finishes on top of fences.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That part is really.
It's a good shoot to look
very-
at.
very unusual.
Yeah.
These people.
Well, it reminded me a little bit of the Sir John Soane Museum.
I've been there, yeah, that's incredible.
Lincoln Fields.
Yeah.
And you'll appreciate this, I've been there a couple of times. One time that the museum just let me up into the model room, which is closed to the public.
Yeah.
And
That's what he
you know,
said.
those guys at that time were heavily
We could move on and then.
intoxicated.
Actually,
Yeah.
reminds me.
But I work in
This is work in
Kingston.
Philadelphia.
I know
Let's
the
just say
neighborhood.
let's cover the others.
Oh.
The 28 Liberty Street
Yes.
is on the agenda. We got a
Really
complaint
narrow
that from a
townhouse.
property owner that somebody planted a
And
tree
decided
in
to
front of
just
their
work
house
with
at
it.
28 Liberty.
Yeah.
It's only
It
55.
turns out that the neighbor did plant the tree. At first I thought it was one of ours, Kyla wasn't around, so we straightened it out. It wasn't one that we put in, at a wrong location, which I was grateful for. But it was a neighbor that put the tree in.
DNA.
After further discussion with the neighbor, it's been in the ground for 2 years. And, or
Is
well
the
over
person
a year and a
against
half. And the neighbor lives there and this person does not, so the owner doesn't live there. So the owner was complaining the tree is on their property. It's on their property by about 6 inches. And the owner said they would move it. I told them not to move it now, but to wait until the fall, if they,
Yeah.
so it doesn't, they don't get along. they won't
Right,
speak to
that's
each
just
other,
right.
so. If anybody approaches you about that tree, it's going to be relocated and it will be done in the fall when it's appropriate to
Okay.
transplant it. It's still small enough that they will survive. So. We were talking, did you hear any of the discussion about Transart on
The Henry
Henry Street?
Oh, I saw the application, yes, like.
Okay. Okay. So we are just waiting, right, Alan is the architect for the project and it's interfering with some of their work that's going on, plus they've always had a little fearfulness of it. DPW did go out there and look at it, it's not part of the Henry Street project because it's on the side street, it's a corner lot. And they want to take it down, we're gonna give them the information to submit for a replacement tree, but that's where we're at right now, it is infested. So, can I
I'll
make a motion? Okay, a motion by Amanda, a second?
All those stipulations involved.
Okay,
Second.
second by Kareem. Any questions? Okay, all in favor? Okay, great, thank you, you're covered.
Okay, thank
And
you.
we need to sign that.
Thank you, everyone.
So maybe in this occasion, nearby you can, like I create a different canopy tree, you see that there's no overhang, so.
Yeah.
Maybe we can all come next time.
Okay, you guys wanna present, we'll take care of it, since the other people are not here, we'll handle the Kingstonian.
Well, I noticed that there are a lot of pamphlets downstairs when we come in. I wonder if there are any under management pamphlets.
We're recording, we're recording.
I printed out
Curious.
the landscape presentation that Kyla's gonna put up on the screen, and also the planning list that was prepared for the project. Just blew that up, so it was easy to see that. Yeah, so it's right out.
Before Dennis starts, the landscape architect was provided with the Henry Street tree list prior to selection. So unless there's been a human error or a clerical error, that was the intent, to only select from the city's approved list.
And the landscape architect is from Alexandria, Virginia. We did fly him up for the planning board presentation in May. He could not be here today, so Scott and Scott is one of the architects involved with the project. And I'm the site civil engineer. We're not landscape architects and don't pretend to be, but we'll try to answer any questions you have. If not, we'll have to take them back to Dan Dove from Virginia to, as you know, I'm sure all of you know, this project's undergone a lot of scrutiny. It's been about 4 years in the planning process. Significant amount of design work has been completed over the last 2 years in particular. And it involves the pedestrian plaza where Fair Street Extension currently exists at one block. And it involves re-landscaping the entire perimeter of the parcels, which the parcels are the old city parking garage, which is on the west side, or on the bottom of essentially on the bottom of that drawing. And the east side, which is the top of the drawing, is a Herzog warehouse building and a diner called the Uptown Grill. So what you see there is the overall landscape plan looking sky view. Pedestrian plaza is in the center. And see the treatments along Schwenk Drive, what we'll call Lower Schwenk and Upper Schwenk as it heads up the hill to Clinton Avenue, and the Senate House. And there's a courtyard that won't be visible from the street that's on the 4th floor of the building, on the roof. And that's also landscaped, and that's where the tenants and the hotel guests gather. In the plaza, pedestrian plaza, is for the public. And it includes a walkway down to Schwenk Drive, which was an added element. And there's also the pedestrian bridge that goes to the north side of Schwenk Drive. With an elevator and a staircase down to grade level.
Let me know when you want me to move on, or if you just want to hang it on this slide.
Yeah, you could probably scroll to the next panel. That's a blow up of the pedestrian plaza, and the treatments proposed.
Right, so just to clarify, the commission has oversight of the street trees, so you have the oversight for the Schwinn Drive, tree plantings, and North Front Street. Now, we don't have any street trees at this time prepared for or proposed on North Front, but there are trees within the plaza, along with other types of landscaping and planting applications. And those, you would be able to make recommendations back to the planning board if you so chose to see fit to make changes or other, comments that you want them to consider in their final review as they're going through site plan. Okay.
So I will assume like currently there are some pear trees on that particular street that will be.
They'll be removed. Yeah, they're
Right.
Mulberry trees.
Yeah.
A lot of mulberry.
Yeah. Approximately 6 trees, I think, that will be removed.
Ginkgo, there's a lot of ginkgo over there too.
I don't think we're removing it. I think there's a ginkgo on Ferris. Is there one? on-
There's one that's up on Fairs, it's going down, the ginkgo tree right there.
We are we're proposing to plant 72 trees alone without the shrubs. And that's on the top third of this list. As part of the project.
I would like to know, like, in terms of long-term maintenance, right, of course, like, once you plant the tree, and, like, some of them can, be responsible, or most of them be responsible.
The maintenance of all of these trees, both in the plaza and on the streets, will be with the applicants. Okay. That's been part of the discussion of how the public plaza area is going to be maintained and managed, okay?
Yeah.
It's a discussion, ongoing discussion with the city, but the maintenance and care of it is going to be on the developer.
Yeah.
To continue.
Not just the landscaping, but also the snow removal,
Right,
cleaning, security, all of that will be on.
So that'll be private security in the courtyard.
Yes, but it will be open to the public.
Does it close at some time every day?
Right now, it's being discussed that it would be normal park hours as a minimum. But there's gonna be businesses on that, facing the plaza there from each side, so,
Kind of like Denver has.
yeah, so you can assume that obviously, at least during certain times of the year, that it'll be open past normal park hours. And there'll be events planned there. There's an event lawn, there's a stage.
Public restrooms.
Public restrooms, that again will be maintained by the property owner.
I see that there's a dog park, open to the community or?
No, the dog park is on the roof along Twin Drive. The plan view might not be as obvious, but it's a rooftop feature and it's for the residents of the 143 apartments and
Yeah, it's in the roof.
32 hotel rooms. I assume if a hotel guest brings a pet, they would have access as well to that dog park.
And so we can talk about urban planning, can we go like to the previous slide? I was just wondering, I would like the connection you did, like the pedestrian connection to the plaza. And I know like on this side of the street, there is no pedestrian, it's like the only pedestrian access is on the other side. there's a sidewalk to this plaza that's actually on the other side, and I just wonder like if this project we kind of like trigger the city to kind of install the sidewalk on the other side and people don't have to.
Yeah, on the, yeah, as you, when you go, in other words, when you go, you're asking about going over Schwank and into the plaza?
Yeah.
Yes, there is a plan also for sidewalk. Once you go over that bridge, you choose to use that pathway and go down and exit, then there's gonna be sidewalk. There are sidewalks on the other side in the plaza.
Okay, great.
Yes,
Because it's really lacking as of now, like,
There's a
Right.
crosswalk here that'll be improved, and there's a brand new sidewalk put in.
But I just wonder like if we can actually access,
Add a
you know, like,
sidewalk
on the sidewalk
over
and not have to go like, because as of now, to go to the plaza, like the car can go directly.
that's part of, yeah,
But
that's
pedestrians
being
have to
discussed
go,
with
like,
planning board,
Because it kind
right?
of just
Yeah.
opens up the
Just-
trees
if-
from that spot.
If the developer doesn't own that property.
No,
So it would
I'm
be a
just like,
city
it's not the city, but
initiative.
it's.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
but it'd be
maybe
nice
nice.
if the city.
And just so you know, the city does have a grant to repurpose or redo Schwink Drive from this intersection up to Washington Avenue. And that's currently in the planning stage and the preliminary design stage. So there may be some other intersection improvements.
Sits on
Yeah.
that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, Vince Archer, who's not on this commission, sits on that project review committee as well for that grant project. So,
Yeah, because I was saying like it's an opportunity for the
Right.
city to connect. But no, that's great.
one thing that Kyla and I, actually Kyla noticed today is that all the trees on Schwenk are one variety. Is there a way to maybe make that a little bit, change them up, plant a few different species rather than all one species, or was that done for an intent?
I think there was a design intent to
Okay.
create kind of the LA effect, but
Uh-huh.
if it's something that you feel strongly about and you want to make a recommendation, then we'll take it back to the developer and the landscape architect. We had the same conversation about Pine Grove. I mean, it's powerful and impactful when you have the same species for a section of a couple of blocks and you have the variety.
Yeah, the only thing that becomes scary is if one gets a disease or some sort of infestation and then.
Or an infrastructure project.
Right. But they're proposed, I think, American elm, right? So I think that's what's listed, so
Like
I'm
disease resistant.
disease resistant
Yeah.
American elm,
Yeah.
assuming that.
Yeah, and I think
Yes,
it's
that way.
like a pretty diverse list. My only concern when I was looking at the list, it's like it's in the Perennials. And I see that you have, for example, like 6,000, like of the same flower, and I feel like there is an opportunity here to create like a sanctuary for pollinators, and I think that would be such a great advertisement for this project to bring, like in this project, like certainly could benefit. And I noticed like most of the grasses are not native. Half of the perennials are not native. They may not provide a great benefit for pollinators. And I would be very happy to give you like the native equivalent, that we use often. And maybe to kind of, instead of having like 600 of the same flowers, maybe you can create a little more of like biodiversity. Because I think this project is an opportunity to kind of, create like a very, so I would be very happy to work with a landscape architect, like with the shrub as well. There's like, I don't know, like 300 of one shrub or something. What do you see?
Yeah, I think they're two very different design perspectives, and Dan and I happen to be very fond of mass plantings, of the impact of that color and impact, but if you have specific suggestions, I can take them back. The one thing I know that the developer would like to see is that we're not coming back, that this process does not delay the site plan review process, which only further delays.
I think it's just perennials, so I don't think that but it's just like an opportunity. I mean, I love massive planting also, but it's like 600 for the scale of this, maybe like, we have other plants that we can plant for different blooming time. and provide really like a great ecosystem. So it's just an opportunity, I feel like, to be done. I don't think that we sacrifice in the beauty of this project, and I'd be happy to participate.
Okay. So consider,
Is there anything to consider any fruit trees?
Do you have any on the Henry Street list?
no,
No, but I mean, this is more of a park feel than a street. And there are a lot of different native fruit trees that could be incorporated to it. So there's a lot of different communities that have been planting things in a public plaza type area for people to be able to go and pick a piece of fruit. And I think that that'd be a great thing for the community to have that.
That's very nice.
It's something that's coming up in a lot of cities to do something like that for the community to be able to partake in that. And then with a plaza.
We can take that back to the designer.
I think it'd be well received with the community to do something like that. Especially because I mean, I see a lot of people go down and pick the mulberries and the ginkgos, and
Yeah.
to lose something that might just be for a short period of time, but to replace it with something else where somebody can go and like pick a piece of fruit would make a big difference for the community.
To take, and I know the Kingston Land Trust is doing a project about Kingston becoming a food forest. And I have a list of like also like native, fruit tree and like, like whatever the space would be the best idea to like to share this. I think that's a very good opportunity to, and all these flowering trees are also providing that some nature for the plant.
yeah, I mean, there are the areas where the amenities are solely for the residents as well, like the courtyard area. And
Yeah.
maybe a location there might be appropriate. I don't know. I mean, it's something to consider, just think about. It's certainly, could be made a recommendation of this group to give that some thought. That along with the variety of the plantings, types of plantings, for the perennials.
I don't know if you've noticed I'm an architect, not a landscape architect, but we made the landscape design recommendations for Cornell Street at the Cornell Creative Center with a lot of agastache.
I know.
And I was getting gas across the street and I saw somebody come down and start pulling it out, and the guy said, they come by every day and pull out the agastache to make tea with it.
Yeah, it's got. But
Because it's a medicinal and an edible.
Exactly, and most of the natives are actually, so you can do like a food forest, like with flowers and everything for sure, medicinal, yeah, absolutely. And that's why, and some of the grasses, like the one like you selected, some are like, we have like the same native here that are just like as gorgeous, but they also provide, like habitat for like the butterfly and the seeds for the bird, it just like gives another layer, and I don't think it sacrifices the intent of the project.
It's important to have like urban pollinator
Yeah. And
to especially in such a big area like that.
yeah, and you can advertise as putting a space in the native space, and I think that would be good. And since can I ask you like 2 questions about the project? Because I did like some review at some time, but I feel like we're not connected. And I just have like so I think it's great to bring density to uptown. I work there and I really enjoy to see more people, and so I think it's great. My only question was like, from Wall Street, when you're on Wall Street and you have like all this beautiful, where like the farmers market used to be, like, so you have like this beautiful street, and at the end of it, you see the Catskill, like that's kind of like, and I thought that this view was like a landmark kind of vista, panoramic vista, because it's kind of like you have like this old town, and suddenly you kind of like discover, like, I thought I was wanting and dreaming to do like a plaza here to kind of celebrate the mountains and the connection of Kingston. And so this is like where the parking is, which I think doesn't bother anything, because at the lower part, it doesn't, stop the view. But then it's kind of like, it's built on top and kind of blocks the view, and it's in bricks, and all the buildings on the side are mostly like in colors and stuff like this, and I feel like the relevance of Like there's design because you have like the design of the bricks, on the other side you have the white house, but it's more like the wooden kind of like siding. And I always thought like it would be like the opposite to respect the context, you know what I mean? Like I feel like the bricks would go very well with the Senate and everything on this side. And like the wooden would be like tied into Wall Street. And also like it would be lower to kind of keep this big trees. That's my landscape architecture kind of insight, perspective that I was trying to kind of set.
I would say, I've been an uptown guy since maybe, and my grandparents moved to Wall Street on that block in 1920, so. But you really can't see the mountains you see a little foothill behind Potter Brothers, and you see a little ridge line. And of course, there was a large building there for decades, and then ugly parking garage for decades. But you will have, on the plaza, you'll be able to enjoy that view that's there, that currently exists from the plaza. You just won't see it as you're driving up Wall Street.
Right, but I feel like Wall Street is so like, essential of Kingston. For me, that's my only thing, like, it has like this kind of like connection and focal point.
And that actually, that configuration had been really addressed. I mean, it had been looked at as, is that the appropriate place to make, the plaza, is that, where it should be. And there was a lot of discussion with respect to where the plaza area would go, where the access to parking garage should go. And it's ultimately been laid here, set here, and that, works into the whole scheme of things. I think would be something to consider, maybe a way to add some landscaping to the uptown component of this project along North Front Street. I know we had discussed that a little bit with I believe it was the Landmarks Commission, some smaller plantings up on North Front Street. We didn't really get into street trees, but perhaps something could be looked at to maybe soften that a little bit. I think that's maybe what you're getting at when you're coming down Wall Street and just hitting just
Yeah, like you want
a wall.
like
But to soften it a little bit with some landscaping might help.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's something to take a look at.
That would be, again, another off-site element, right?
Well, it would be within the public right of way there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just to keep like the actual place with something else. It's going to like,
So just to go back to the street trees down on Schwenk, I just want to kind of get a feel for what your thoughts are about them all being the same species down there. I know Scott had said that they're trying to really create that impact using the large, and they're planting large trees, which is nice. We don't have too many opportunities, so they would be elm, the disease-resistant elms down there. How many did we count?
that's not.
It was birch.
The birch is in the plaza.
The birch, yeah, the river birch are all. in
So the
plaza.
10 are the American elm.
And the reason for the birch in the plaza is that they're wispy and you can see through them
No, I think it's free.
Yeah, they create- right,
And tennis.
don't become a nuisance.
It's like
And the barks be okay.
yeah, I think that is fine. It's not-
So you're okay?
Yeah. I think
Okay, all right, I wanted to,
Yes.
that was something, the commission should be looking at. Okay,
I think so.
all right.
The only thing about the species, like, you really consider like the space, right? Like, even is the same species and, which is fine, right? But like, it's how, but because eventually we see like some large tree, it will break the sidewalk or, like this. So I think like to, prevent the whole thing and select the species will be more, we just need to feel for that.
Well, certainly, yeah, I mean, they'll be sized appropriately with the tree planting pit or lawn, whichever application is ultimately chosen. But I think maybe making a recommendation to use something along the lines of the structural soils that would allow for the root system to grow without disturbing, the hardscape above or around. Okay, so that would be a recommendation. Okay.
Which George has brought up before with others.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight. Okay. Any other thoughts? I'm gonna look at some other sketches, plantings. I mean, there's a lot of on-site planting that you could, be looking at, making recommendations. But again, as Scott said, they used the street tree list from Henry Street. Kyla has also provided Scott now with an updated list that we've been looking at as well. But this was already been done and in the works. But
if you did want to see the renderings from the architectural package, once you get through these slides, it might put everything in context a little better as well. The HLPC presentation. That's the activities deck, so to speak, which would be a pool and picnic areas,
And that's on the roof.
gathering areas.
It is on the roof.
It's nice.
So it's street level, it's resident amenity.
And we get a pass to go there.
Yeah.
The 1-bedroom apartment.
The pet park amenity is another rooftop feature.
I just think that, like, incorporating the idea of changing season bloomings for the pollinating concept and incorporating trees with use, fruit trees would be my biggest concern. Everything else looks great.
Pollinators, thank you.
okay, so I have, obviously, the recommendations would be to use structural soils for the street tree plantings. Probably should consider that with your plaza plantings as well, with the hardscape that you're putting in there. So I'll add and plaza. Consider more of a variety for change of season plantings in the plaza, including urban pollinators, considering fruit trees in the plaza area and other private areas on site, and consider some plantings on the North Front Street in the public right of way. Is there anything else that I missed in your?
Yeah, they just had the native plantings because they are the one who gives like for pollinators, I guess. It's-
Okay.
So since you offered,
Yes.
would you mind identifying in an email to Sue that she can forward to me which ones you feel are not native? And I can forward it on to
Yeah.
Dan or
I will mark up the list
Yeah.
and I will send it to you.
Thank you.
And I can.
Yeah, if you get that to me, then I'll certainly forward it to Scott.
And I can put a list of what I want, maybe, or and then we have to speak.
Well, in the interest of just keep checking the box, if it gets to Sue, gets to me, gets to Dan, then it get back to Sue. And by the next time we're in front of the planning board, because this, can't go on another year.
Right.
So it's an easy thing to address, and if,
So you want just a markup without any kind of equivalence?
no, if you have a suggestion about
Just
it,
email with your specific suggestions.
yeah, then we can address it and it won't be just out there in the ether.
Yeah, no, because I've done it already, so I can.
Good, thank you, appreciate it.
Sure. No, I feel it's such an, quite opportunity. It's like,
Okay.
do you need some?
We have to wait and again.
For art or sculptures or stuff like that, do you think about some art display somewhere, some, it's something you consider, I feel like on the plaza, because we have like such a great community of artists,
Yeah, there are a lot of, there are a lot of opportunities for the community to use that plaza in many different ways, so it's sort of a delicate balance of, if you look closely at the plan, you have this sort of central lawn and pavilion that Snowflake Festival, farmers market,
Yeah.
and so to plant sculpture there would preclude us from that flexibility, I would say.
There is also a certain amount of clearance that needs to be maintained for emergency vehicle access, because that's been committed as well, so it can't just all be like a huge park area. They've got to maintain a certain balance with that, respect to that as well.
But just like sometimes like just like, you know, like the concrete slab, you know, that just like and accept some botanic sculptures and you don't have to be. Because I know like the community of artists here will be very happy to have like the opportunity to display their work and to make it in the community.
Okay. So
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, just wait for Evan and then we'll
Oh, okay.
do the formal.
Our retired backers gonna be able to live here?
So what's your timeline for this project? Yes.
I think I know about trees and flowers.
It's a process.
Yes.
We can, maybe while we're waiting for Evan, Brian Smith is here. I'm gonna talk about yours. Brian is 77 Roosevelt. But you have Arlene too. Talk about, but let's, would you, Brian, do you mind, would you, Brian?
Not at all.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the summer.
Yes.
Doesn't get too much hotter.
Okay.
Fortunately, all gone, so I won't miss that. There's all the way down the street.
Yeah. Shuffle around. Okay. Brian, you want to go to the table? Thanks.
Right, see. Good. Good jet ski. We got the big jet ski? Yes, sir. Yeah.
Oh,
Here's
yeah.
Evan. Okay. Let's just quick do this one, then I can put that away. So Evan, what we came up with was that, we're gonna be recommending the use of structural soil, for the tree plantings, both along the street and in the plaza. Considering more of a variety of, native type plantings, with seasonal planting considerations and urban pollinators, consideration of some fruit trees, both in the plaza area and private areas. Again, I made another note, more native species. I'm considering additional plantings in the right of way along North Front Street, and then Corinne is going to email to me some site-specific comments that she has, which I'll forward along to them. Okay, so that was what we came up with. Can I get a motion to that effect from somebody? From Corinne. Okay, can I get a second? From Amanda? Any question on the motion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, there you go. Thank you. Sign and pass that around. And now we got Brian here. Brian Smith owns the property at 77 Roosevelt Avenue. And he's looking to remove one tree, right? This is one.
That's the only one I have left.
The only way you have left.
I had two up.
Yeah.
Same size, or over 100 years old. I guess. Big.
But they're in tough shape. We do have the tree planting program, Brian, if you're
Yeah, my
interested.
wife would be interested in that all.
Okay, okay,
Do you
good.
have one particular tree or different tree?
We're gonna probably end up doing, what, about 5 types, I think we're hoping to get.
Yeah, and we're gonna probably work with the DEC, George, who would normally be at this meeting, to kind of recommend certain things for places. So we could be in touch if you submit an application.
Okay. Yeah, it's very dangerous, and I'm to the point where, you know, I've had the trees, when I had the boat trees, they were trimmed every year.
And then I had to remove one of them that it was like this, it started to go. I was looking for assistance from the city on that, but I guess there's not enough money or there's no money left. But they did take two next to me down, and I don't know why this wasn't marked. Because one of my neighbor's trees are smaller trees, and they was all green. It was a healthy tree, but this is really starting to go, it's got a crack. in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. They get the tree, when we did the tree removal program a few years ago, it was based on the street tree inventory, and there were priorities for removals, and that's what we used to base our program. The amount of funding we had obviously was not sufficient to cover all of the city's needs throughout, but, yeah. So I mean, there were trees that were not addressed that should have been. I get that, so I'm not sure what the situation
So
was.
there's absolutely no assistance available at all.
No, there is something with the Memorial Tree Fund. They do have a stipend that they will provide to property owners. Again, it's a limited pot of funds. It's an application process. I can send you that information. Mentioned it earlier before you got here, though, I believe that the amount of money that's been allocated for this year has already been dedicated. But it doesn't hurt to ask.
Did they ever publish that in Freeman or anything? Is that, I don't
No,
know.
it's not published in the Freeman. We mention it here because one of the requirements is that you come to the tree commission and get the approval of the commission first. So once you have the approval, I put it into the letter that you can reach out to this group. It's not a huge amount of money, so publishing it, I don't, they don't have a problem getting rid of it. So,
The tree is, we live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of walkers. And, people with baby carriages and they go down the street, they don't even want the sidewalks. Because a lot of those sidewalks go like this.
right,
I had replaced mine with all bluestone, flat bluestone. So they don't even come on my sidewalk, but they go under that tree and neighbors park under it, even though there's been piles of branches in front of it. They keep parking under it, and I don't want to be responsible for somebody that gets hurt.
right.
So I appreciate it if we could get the application in to take it down.
I'll put an application to plant a tree, and I'll put the information for the Memorial Tree Fund in the decision.
Can we get a preview of trees? There's probably some on our street, I see some more planted.
Yeah,
I don't want to leave the house without trees because there's no shade.
yeah, we went through your neighborhood and distributed flyers, so I don't know if I'm sure we did Roosevelt, yeah.
We got
a lot of responses over there for trees to get planted, so.
I know they planted a couple down the street from, but now they got water bags on them.
Okay, yep, those could have been part of, did we plant in that in the spring?
I think we talked about, there were quite a few on Wilson. I think there was at least a few on Roosevelt.
So,
I don't remember.
but I'll send you the information. Okay. Any other questions for Brian? Okay, can I get a motion from somebody, Amanda? To remove with standard conditions in the tree plant, right? Okay. And the standard conditions are just the insurance coverage and protecting, the street and pedestrians while work is going on and removal of debris, that kind of stuff.
Anytime I have a contractor do work, I check their insurance.
I'm sure you do.
And then
I'm
call
sure
the
you
insurance
do.
company, make sure it's still in force.
Okay, so I have
They pay
a.
a quarter's payment and then they keep the policy for the rest of the year and show it to you.
Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second? Evan, okay. Any questions? Okay, all in favor? Okay, you're very good.
Thank you all. for your time. I appreciate it. I didn't know I could come, so that's why I was a little late.
That's all right.
Right on time. You're right on time, there's lots going on today.
Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, and Scott is back.
Lots of people.
Okay. Okay, this is going to be 96 Tenbrook Avenue. This is a application, Arlene Sheshek. Sheket. Okay, is a sculptor who bought this property. It is actually a corner property, and she is moving her sculpture business in there. She wants to put in 3 trees, 2 on the Cornell Street side and 1 on the Tenbrook side. George did give me a comment back that he's concerned with the species of tree.
Sure.
Not one that we would typically recommend planting. Another concern, we looked at the this location for Cornell Street, and that might be problematic because of the there's a utility pole there.
Yep.
And some signage. So
Yep.
I don't know if that location is actually going to be possible to plant.
So I am Marlene's architect. She was her own landscape architect. We just took her information and recapitulated it in a form that the planning board and was familiar with. So she has been made aware that the pear trees are not desirable. This afternoon at 1:55 PM, I received an email from her that I forwarded on to you, Sue. Kyle, I didn't copy you, I'm sorry. She said, after looking at the list that Sue and Kyle forwarded, her first choice was crabapple, second choice eastern redwood, bud, and third was serviceberry. So
That's better for the height. So
Is there any concern with this other pole here too? Not that I want to discourage trees, but it looks like you have 2 poles.
Since the one bedroom that goes at 4, one bedroom at 25.
I guess 1 would have to go somewhere in.
Right.
I mean, it looks to me as I didn't analyze the information, we received it I think just prior to within hours of the planning board submission, and I remember frantically trying to make sure that we hit the deadline. But with the guy in the pole there, you certainly cannot put it where it's represented.
Not on that side, no, that's not gonna be, I mean,
I'm gonna make a suggestion that for tonight's meeting, if we can get consensus on the species, that we request the 2, and if she wants to come back for an additional modification, she can come back at a later date. She's not here tonight because she's at a meeting in New York City. But she's
yeah, I
incredibly
mean,
eager.
the addition of the 2 is a big,
Start.
is a start. And I mean, I appreciate the fact that she wanted to put another one in, it's just logistically, I can't, I wouldn't put I couldn't promote putting a tree where she wants to put it.
The only, but if you don't mind.
Unless she puts it on the inside of the sidewalk.
Well, there might be just enough room on the other side
Of the guy wire,
of the guy.
is that beyond her property line? That would be my only question.
I'll have to look
What
closely
about
at
on
the
the
survey.
grass on the other side of the sidewalk though?
If you look at the site plan with
Oh, the park,
defines
okay.
parking
Yeah,
spaces. And I understand the design intent, she was looking for symmetry around the
Right.
gate. And if you flip through your package, you'll see what she's proposing.
Yeah.
And her staff prepared these Photoshop photo simulations. So they're indicating it between the guy and the pole.
it would never survive. And I don't think the utility would appreciate this.
Yeah.
Putting one there.
Yeah, I can actually share Google, which gives a better
Yeah.
image, but then I think you're right, down here, there is potentially room. You know,
Where
for
she's
one
proposing is kind of right there.
on the side.
Yeah, in that area.
So
Yeah,
probably
if you look
one
at the
park
photo,
here.
Sam, I think it's pretty clear that they were going for symmetry
Yeah.
at the gate. And
I mean, the other thing, I mean, even if it were to be placed beyond the guide wire, like you said there, if there's enough room there to put it,
I don't think it will.
it might not, yeah, oh, it's paved. Is it paved?
Oh, right, yeah, so definitely not.
And that's the end of the.
Yeah, that's where they,
And I would also.
Yeah, that's
Inside's
that's
correct.
off the property line.
Yeah.
Because the fence,
right,
is the property line. So, another thought would be to keep the request at 3, one there, Kyla, where,
Yeah.
and one there.
one there, and then,
Yep.
and one on, Tenbrook.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, just for the board's edification, these were not a requirement that the planning board imposed, it was a request of the applicant.
So the only thing I would mention about with the planting requests is that we do submit these to the DEC. So George Profus, who's the forester, will look at the locations and make recommendations back. So if he feels that, the wires are concerned or the planting locations are concerned, we can't assume that she will get all 3,
Sure.
as part of the street tree project. The other thing is that with the species, it will be dependent on when we put it out to bid, what we're able to get at the time. I would say that her
she would
top
have a
3,
choice, in other words.
Yeah.
The type.
it is highly likely that the top 3 that she
She's
said,
picking them, like paying for them herself.
Yeah, I don't think that this is
Yeah, I'm sure she do it herself.
predicated on,
It seemed like she.
this is part of
That
her
might be
Okay.
just
desired
the
outcome.
application.
okay.
I mean,
My
she-
understanding.
She might avail herself of that, but
So if
regardless,
she's planting them herself, then none of what I said matters.
okay,
If she's applying for the program, then the DEC would have some oversight and we would be limited to species. But if she's going to plant what she wants and the commission's okay with the location.
I would think, I can't speak for her, she's not here, but for $200 a tree, I mean.
And she's
as an
doing all
artist,
the
she's
other
gonna want,
landscaping
Yeah.
herself, right?
her, first preference crab apple,
Okay.
second eastern red bud, third service
Yeah,
berry.
The only thing going down, is there a gas line or something there? Has that been looked at, like along?
Well, they'll have to
They'll
call it,
underground.
yeah,
Like, to just add that new spot is what I'm saying, like, there might be something there that would also.
That's what, I was going to ask, like, the utility line, like, this is.
I don't see
might be
anything.
water or gas and, the.
Well, they wouldn't be marked up until you call anyway.
Right.
And you can call for the locations, yeah.
and that
Unless
calls.
you're getting a new sidewalk and then everything on your property is spray painted right.
And so if I may say for the list.
Okay, so do we want to,
Marie was saying something.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
no, I was just talking about like the planting list, and this is just, like totally, like all the fountain grasses are like not native, so I feel like, and something I can definitely address, and I was just also concerned about for her, like the cypress tree, I think it's a Mediterranean species, and I don't think this one's been really well here. And we have a native one that does exactly the same kind of like.
Okay, I'm sure she'd be receptive to your suggestion. I had nothing to do with this other
I know.
than recapitulate
Yeah.
for.
but we're really here to look at her street trees, so, but I get what
Yeah.
you're saying, but what you're saying is a good point, okay?
Just, since I'm very like,
Okay.
to send you, and also this way she plans it is gonna make it because it might not. So.
Okay, so she's looking at crabapple as her number 1 choice. And our number 2 choice was what, Scott?
Eastern redbud,
Eastern redbud.
third choice of service berry.
Do we have an issue with any of those? No.
Okay. The only thing about red apple is like it might fall on the sidewalk or something like. It's the property owner's trouble.
Yeah. I didn't verify that these are all on the Henry list, but I specifically sent the list and called her assistant and said, please pick
I
from
think
the
they,
the
I
list.
think they are. I think they sound familiar.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 trees, we've decided we're gonna move the one closer to Ten Brook and not on, would be the north.
It's kind of on the 45, I think.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure-
Northeast,
Northeast, okay. Okay.
further away from the Darmstadt property.
Right. Closer to the corner. Okay.
Have you seen, the Russian sage at the Lace Mills? Take a drive by.
Okay.
Yes, got it.
Okay, so can I have a motion from somebody?
I propose a motion,
Okay,
the tree planting, based on our discussion, of the CT standard procedure.
okay. Standard conditions. Okay. Second by Amanda. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay,
Thank you all.
thanks, Scott. Okay, 98 Pearl Street is next. And this is again another pruning job. 98 Pearl, and then I also sent around a revised 86 Pearl today. And the revision on 86 Pearl is to just prune a third tree along with the other 2. The same company is doing both, so that's why they're both together. I'm gonna address them together. And one is, the other pruning is just really potentially damaging their house, so they wanna remove the limbs that are interfering. If that, you can see it pretty clearly is,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So they're concerned about that. So I would recommend in favor of both of these with the standard conditions. So any questions? So we'll start with 98 Pearl. Pruning.
This tree's gonna be interesting, proved.
Point.
Do you want to consider approving if he were to decide to take it down? Not to promote taking it down, but what is he going to do, cut off like half of the tree?
I'm sure.
I mean, I would hate for him to cut half of it and say, wow, that looks, you know, he might only have this
Well,
one.
even structurally, I'd be maybe
Yeah,
concerned.
because
I don't
these
know.
don't
Unless he
look like-
prunes back just what's hanging over his house per se and leaves,
See if I can get Google Maps. This one's what, 98, you said?
yeah.
Because you can also,
Because it's hard to tell when
can
it's,
cable it and cable to make sure like it's not like structure wise.
you said 98 Pearl.
I don't think it would hurt putting that in as.
I mean, I'd hate to see him
Acceptable
cut it and say,
today.
wow, you know, and then have to have them come back if
And
it's,
they,
if it
they
doesn't
cut
look.
that side and for the central Hudson, just cut the tree in the middle.
And then it's big,
Because the lines are going through.
which they could do because it's right over the wires. They love doing it.
Yeah.
So Let's see if we can see a better angle.
From the other side.
I think you're right, it's just gonna have that one part sticking out.
It looks to me like everything in the middle is cut already, so if they cut
Yeah.
that side off, you're just gonna have this one
Which could be a big
thing,
problem.
unless they're just cutting.
Unless
you
they're
know,
just
just-
pruning what's hanging over.
Right.
I mean, I talked to the tree company guy, because he gave me his insurance already. And he was okay with pruning, he thinks pruning it is going to help it.
So maybe he's just gonna cut what's touching. 'Cause It
Yeah,
actually looks like it's touching the house.
Yeah,
yeah, it was laying
big
on the
branch
roof
looks like
itself,
it's
yeah.
actually resting on.
Yeah, maybe it's gonna cut the other side or
The other
something.
picture.
Mhm. Okay. But I will put that in as,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
they find out that once they do this work, that it needs to. And then I would also add in that we do a remove and replace. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, the other one's a similar, yeah, because look, you can see how far down that starts to.
I think the one closest to it looks like it's.
Oh, that's the 108, okay.
I don't know, this is
Yeah.
the 98, right? What's one of?
86 Pearl.
Oh,
So it's on the other side of the intersection. This is the corner.
so that's.
Right, so that's the one they're
It just needs
adding,
a pruning, yeah.
pruning to. And then the other two that we've already approved pruning are on the other side on Green Street.
Over here. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
And
you
Green.
want to see it down here.
Right, he's got the two there. So the pruning those two on Green has already been approved, and then adding the other.
Okay.
And he's actually, in his application, I don't know.
Circle particular area.
It's actually really only one limb. This is the
Oh, it's
86, this is the
right.
Pearl Tree. He's only actually looking at doing this one little section, one little limb that he wants to remove off.
Yes.
He doesn't want to do a lot of huge pruning job, just a small. But since the guy's gonna be there, he's gonna take that away.
Nonsense.
Okay. All right, so. Let's see, start with 98 Pearl. I have okay to prune with the standard conditions, however, if needed to after because of either structural concerns or appearance, they can go ahead and remove but replace. So I need a motion for that.
I propose a motion.
Evan, okay, a second? Amanda, okay, any questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Okay, good, there you go. 86, prune and Pearl Street as submitted. Standard. And again, I already have the guy's insurance.
You forward that information to our first visitor. As someone who might be willing to prove.
Yeah. Just make sure you dealt with him today. He's just not a pleasant person.
I mean, like, if the person has.
So the only other thing is
cancellation,
Kingston
but I
Point?
can mention his insurance.
Yep, okay, but we have to do 86 Pearl. I just we'll need a motion to do the prune, okay? And second on that one, Evan, any question?
No.
Okay. All in favor, I should say. Okay. It had to be. Okay,
That one was pretty cut and dry, easy.
yeah, it takes care of that one and that one. So Kingston Point, this was a request from Julie Noble. what was that one? They wanted to plant, right? She wants to plant trees.
Yeah, I think she wanted one from the, well, were we considering from the tree planting project?
Yeah, and we were thinking a large tree would be great down there, but then we started talking about that as being our Arbor Day for next year.
Okay.
I mean, I think it would be a great spot. They're doing a lot of improvements at Kingston Point Park. And it's just, I think it would be a nice spot for us to focus on for Arbor Day next year. We start working now, we can start, and certainly, Julie, I mentioned it to her and she was very interested. She was gonna bring it up with her boss, the director of recreation, Lindsley Tinbrook, and I don't see why they would say no, but we can, certainly work with them to get some programming or do something really, really interesting.
That's cool. And where is it in Kingston Point? Where?
It's near the new parking lot. Where the pavilion, the beach side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Which is, there's so much room there for trees.
Yes.
Yeah,
For sure.
we could probably plant a couple of trees if we could get, and we could do really big ones and
Yeah,
it's,
it's
you might over there, I don't know, there's a lot of wet area there, so,
Yeah, that's really, yeah.
Do we know what happened to the other side of, the field side of parking lot? There's always water.
Yeah, that one side always.
that one, that's part of a project that's, I think it's going on now, to remove that parking lot. That parking lot's gonna be removed because of the water problem.
Yeah.
And they're putting more parking on the opposite side, and that's just gonna become a green.
Where will the playground go then, in the same area?
The playground is, I think it's already built. There's a new playground there. We took the old one down and there's a new one closer to the,
I haven't seen, yeah.
closer to
Yeah,
the
I don't know if
beach.
it's in yet.
I was just down there about.
Yeah.
within the-
Oh, then it has, okay, it's going closer to the beach area,
Okay.
closer where the pavilion is. Yeah, there's
Which
a
is great,
soccer
because I
field
used to want to go
there.
to the pavilion to get shade.
Yeah,
So as a parent, I'm like, that's a great idea.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
so they're doing a lot there, so it'll be good,
That's cool.
okay? And that's all I have for today.
All right. Quite a minute.
Anything else?
No, thanks.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Amanda, second by Evan, all in favor? And so it
A
is.
word from my sister.
No, where
I
is
apologize for her absence. I don't know.
She's okay.
Exactly, at this point, we will.
She was